Welcome to Pro and Con. I'm Konrad Ejbich. My guest today is Angelo Gaja, the managing director of Gaia Wines of Italy. Angelo is the fourth generation.
Yes, right.
In a family that's been making wine since the 1850s.
1859.
1859. I think they made the first wine in 1856 and built the winery in 1859.
Okay, the winery was opened in 1859 by my
59.
great-grandfather.
Right.
He was born in Barbaresco. We are talking about a winery that is located in Piedmont, northwest region, northwest of Italy.
Yes.
And in a small village called Barbaresco. And my great-grandfather that was born there in 1832, when he was 27, in 1859, he opened the winery.
Right. Your great-grandfather was Giovanni.
Great-grandfather was Giovanni Gaia.
And your grandfather was
my
Angelo.
grandfather is a son that went on with the winery, is Angelo. I take his same name.
Right. Your father is Giovanni.
My father is Giovanni, yes. And
you're Angelo.
And I have a son that is
You
called
have a son
Giovanni.
called-
We are boring, we are boring.
Perfect. Not boring. Not
No
boring.
fantasy, no fantasy.
Not boring. Your great-grandfather started the winery because he had a restaurant, a little taverna, and he wanted to
a
have...
small trattoria, yes, a small trattoria. And at the time, especially in Piedmont, but not only in Piedmont, I believe that largely even in Europe, the business of wine was in the hand. The wine producers were commerciants, negotiants, buying grapes. Usually they didn't own vineyards. The vineyard belonged to landowners, and the grape growers were just producing grapes to be sold to the negotiants. And negotiants, without owning any vineyards, they were used to producing a wine and selling wine in a bulk or damijan barrel or bottle and so on.
Right. So I understand that your grandfather wanted to guarantee the supply.
My great-grandfather started in becoming estate, in producing grapes and wine. Why? This is a question. Because the family owned the small trattoria, so he was sure that he could sell his wine to the guests of the trattoria. And there, by the time, he started collecting guests that started even asking to my great-grandfather having wine for their home consumption, and he sold to them a damijan wine or barrel of wine. And after 12 years, in 1912, the family decided to stop the trattoria and to go on exclusively with
the wine.
At that time, my grandfather, Angelo Gaja, was already there. Yes.
Right, your grandfather. And your grandfather, Angelo, basically...
Grandfather Angelo, yes.
Right, he stopped the trattoria and just went with the wine.
Yes,
your
exactly,
father continued the wine.
Let me say something. Grandfather was Angelo Gaja, my grandfather, was a very good grower, grape grower, quite good. Was considered in Barbaresco, small village at the time. 1,000 people was in Barbaresco. Barbaresco is close to Alba, southwest of Piedmont. That is a northern region of Italy. My grandfather, when he was 45, I believe, in something like that. In 2005. No, sorry, oh my God, this morning. In 1905, he married my grandmother. Grandmother, the name was Clotilde Rey, and the Clotilde Rey was born in the mountains near the French border. She had no culture, wine culture or vineyard culture, because living in the mountains, never were planted vineyards there and so on.
Too high, sure.
She studied in Chambéry, Savoie, France, and she lived there in college for almost 13 years. And she became a school teacher. When she was 25, in 1905, she married my grandfather. And she introduced, the name is Clotilde Rey, R-E-Y, and she introduced the Gaia family, the culture, the quality, dedication. She pushed enormously my grandfather to work for quality. My grandfather was already a good grape grower,
right.
But for her was never good enough.
Right.
she
Pushed
was,
into just
my
better,
God,
better,
always
better.
asking to that she was always saying that my grandfather was not good enough to make, was not able to make a good enough quality grapes, not able to make a good enough wine. Not, my God, always insisting and talking about that. So my grandfather, luckily for him, he was a man with rich of a sense of humor.
I was going to say you need a good sense of humor.
And yes, and he was used to saying that it can happen for a husband to have a wife better than him. What to do? There are only two chances.
That's right.
To follow her or to kill her.
Or to kill her.
So he was able to follow her, but he did better and better. But it was the grandmother Clotilde Rey that introduced the Gaia family, the dedication and the extreme will to make a quality grapes and
to
quality
achieve
wines.
the best.
To achieve, yes.
And now your grandfather and your father continued the business until they passed it on to you.
Is my grandmother that pushed my father with ambition and to be, and,
Sure.
because her husband had already his own culture, but she could work on my father, her son, and my father Giovanni Gaia is considered still today the most complete wine artisan in Piedmont.
He was a mayor, wasn't he?
What does it mean to be artisan? Artisan is an important word. Artisan, it means to own one or more of this aspect. For a winery, to be estate, not buying grapes, not buying wine, making wine exclusively with his own grapes.
Estate grapes.
It means to be available to do sacrifices. Sacrifices at that time, it means that with the weather conditions at that time, 5, 6 vintages out of 10, the climatic conditions didn't give the chance of producing a high quality wine. For my father, when the quality was not good enough because of bad weather conditions, he was available to sell the wine completely in bulk, not the bottling,
right.
Because the quality was not the standard quality that he was waiting for.
So anytime your name was on the bottle, you wanted to have only the best wine,
the best. Or not bottling and declassifying, not the second label or third label, just to sell at very, very low prices, big sacrifice. The artisan is someone that is focused in the pyramid prices with different level prices. For his wine or his bottles of wine, the artisan is choosing a specific area where he can produce. So normally artisans are not producing low price wines, not because it's not possible to make money.
Costs more to make them.
More is impossible.
Sure.
If you do sacrifices like that, it's impossible to stay there. The attitude of artisan is not to give any chance the winery to increase more than a certain size, because he has an optimal size, and after he reached, he is able to reach the optimal size, he stays there, and he doesn't give any chance to increase the size, because increasing the size, producing more, he would lose the
quality.
And for artisans is very important family. Family in the meaning having as much the largest number of a component of family working in the company, and this is not an hobby, is the only job that they have.
Right.
And they are focused and they do exclusively that. And the family becomes very important because by generation it has to be able to collect experiences and the knowledges generation by generation.
And you're a very passionate person. I can see from how you're talking. Tell me, when you took over the winery, I mean, you started in 61 and you actually took over in 68, 69. Tell me about the differences in style and and in personality between yourself and your father? Because I understand there was
First
some little bit of
never contrast. No, of course, my father was thinking differently than me, and because he belonged to another area. But I studied for becoming a winemaker in Alba town, close to Barbaresco, and after I went to Turin and I graduated at the university in economy.
in economy. That's right.
But all what I know about wine and winemaking and the wine culture and the vineyard culture, I learned from my father. I didn't find on books. So my father was my teacher. And
But you had disputes between the two of you.
Not
There was
exactly
not-
this. No.
Explain to me what was that about?
Not exactly. Not dispute. Of course, he was thinking. He had a different idea, and I had for some aspect different ideas. But both of us we thought that it was quite important to keep and to maintain some aspect of a tradition. There is great respect for a grape variety that we have there that is unique. That is called the Nebbiolo, planted in Piedmont for 800 years. So there is a large knowledge about the Nebbiolo.
What a history with it.
And the Nebbiolo makes wines that take a specific appellation, the name of a village. So Barbaresco is the Nebbiolo produced in 3 villages, and the wine has the right to be called Barbaresco, 100% Nebbiolo grapes. Barolo, the area is larger, 13 villages, 100% Nebbiolo grapes growing there. Is another district, not so far, 10 miles from Barbaresco, and the name is Barolo. Another area is called the Nebbiolo d'Alba. Another area is called, always there, Langhe Nebbiolo. Another part is called Roero. All together, the different appellations given to wines made by Nebbiolo grapes represent in Piedmont no more than 5% of total vineyards planted in Piedmont.
Right.
So only 5% are represented by Nebbiolo grapes with a different appellation. So for me to keep and to maintain the culture and the great respect of Nebbiolo is fundamental, and I learned from my father. Why that? Why? Because Nebbiolo makes wines that are revealed, that have a sense of place.
Well,
When you drink a wine made by Nebbiolo, a grape, Barbaresco, Barolo, Langhe Nebbiolo, and so on, I believe that the first impression is that you're surprised, because whenever you taste a wine that has a similar taste, is different. This is quite, so what I believe that for, I don't say only upgraded, but for consumers that are looking for more, that are not only the usual, excellent, maybe very good, the Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, and so on, looking for something more, higher and different, I believe that the Nebbiolo, the first, beside the sense of place, beside the identity and the originality, is the fact that is able to surprise you. And this is something that is quite important, and that is it is what I expect from a great wine.
Well, I
expect to be surprised about.
Because today.
So sorry, because you asked me the conflict of my father. So there was no conflict there in the respect of Nebbiolo and in the idea of continuing producing a unique wine in the world. This belonged to the tradition.
Of course, that you agreed all on that.
Beside, maybe that some steps I did were not exactly what I in the culture of my father. But
like
my
what?
father, like introducing, for example, new barrels. Beside the old cask, because we use both old barrels and the big cask. When I did a step in planting a small vineyard of Cabernet Sauvignon or small vineyard of Chardonnay that never were planted before in Barbaresco, this is true. My father had not, but at the end,
a shock to him.
Yes, but at the end he left me doing. You know, he was very tolerant, and he was able to do something that I learned from him, and I try to do with my children. I am 72 years old. He worked till the end because he died at 94 years old, but still when he was 88, 89 years old, he was used to coming to the winery and so on. time to time.
Checking up, just make sure you were doing a good job.
No, doing there and watching. But I am 72 years old. Like all the artisans, and I learned from my father too, I don't like to retire. If I will have a good health, I would like continuing doing what I do. And my duty is principally, I have two duties versus my children. First, to give to them as much as possible good examples, like my father did with me, not forcing children to follow. Just giving good example as much as possible. It will arrive the day.
Let them flower in the way that they will
yes,
flower.
that they will be able to take inspiration by the good examples given by parents. Very important. So not forcing, not obliging the children to follow, but just giving the example and examples. And the second, to teach to children, and it taught to me to cultivate the passion. And the passion is not only passion for making money or for making business. Passion for is the goal, is something that goes with your work. And to do your work, you have to be passionate, and the passion has to stay there, and you have to cultivate and to protect all over your life against health problem, life problem. Protect the passion. That is a very important ingredient.
Well, it's curious because I was going to ask you. First of all,
probably talk too much.
No, I just can't get any questions in. But that's good. Modern wine drinkers want.
Good. This is
that's
mine.
Excellent. That's your wine. That's the Marcan. That's the Camarganda. That's not a Barbaresco.
This is in Tuscany.
That's in Tuscany. Is that Bulgarian?
Why there is a Bulgari? Bulgari. Excellent.
I can say it.
Why we have a winery there? Because. Not giving the chance, because when we excluded, we thought that we had not to increase the size of Gaia winery, but we are for in the winery. The family, my wife works with me since '76, full time. I have two daughters, Gaia, 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 and Rossana, working in the winery full time.
Yes. Not
for hobby. Is their only job, and myself that I try to do a little bit of everything. So we had the perception that we had too much energies, and we started dreaming to do something more, but not giving the chance to expand the Gaia winery, not losing our dedication to quality there, and we started thinking to be in Italy, in another area, and we chose two other areas. In Montalcino, we have a small winery there, where the wine is made through Sangiovese grape, that is a local grape variety, and so on.
Yes.
And in Bulgari, the light was switched on by Sassicaia and so on, made by Cabernet Sauvignon, great wine and so on. And we built a winery there in 90 and in 98, and starting 2000 we are releasing wine from the winery that is called Camarcanda, and we planted it there. Always the concept is the same: to be artisan, to be estate, like in Piedmont. The winery there is new, but this is a wine promise that comes from there.
Absolutely. My son was conceived in San Vincenzo.
Oh, look at them!
Right there.
So, okay, this is first honor. Second honor is to conceive the promise is conceived there.
Absolutely, there you go. So this is a wine for my son.
Less important than your
Absolutely.
son. So do you know the area there?
I do very well.
Oh,
I used to be the agent for Sassicaia.
Oh
for
God! My God!
No,
Yes,
good old days.
Okay.
Now, I was going to ask you.
Let me say, you know what Sassicaia, you know. The name of the wine is a great wine produced in Bulgaria and so on. When I joined the area there, and I have a friend of mine that he called me after 15 or 20 days that I bought a piece of land in Bulgaria, and he called in the early morning, 3 o'clock, and he was crazy to tell me about I was smart to buy a piece of land there for producing wine there through Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot there, that was much better than in Montalcino, where I bought the land before and the property, a small property there. And he told me, can I suggest you the name of the wine? At 3 o'clock in the morning. I said, look, I have even to plant a vineyard and so on there. I have to start my work. Why do you call me 3 or 4 years earlier? There is nothing.
Right.
No, I like to give you the name, to give you a suggestion of name that you have to give to the wine. So, okay, tell me what. Call the wine Gaia.
Gaia. I love it. That's fantastic.
We prefer to call the winery Camarcanda and the wine Promise.
I like that.
Magari, okay.
We're going to take a little break here.
Yes.
Because otherwise the tape's going to stop.
Can I have a sip of wine?
Oh, please do.
Thank
Please
you.
do. Have more than one. We're going to come right back in just 1 minute, less than 1 minute for you.
Okay, good.